And we are live. And I am MagicMan, aka Sean Grice. And this is another version of the Lakers Fast Break. This is a Lakers snack pack. Tonight is huge. Tonight is pivotal. Game 4, Crypto.com Arena finds the Los Angeles Lakers hosting the Memphis Grizzlies. The Lakers hold a 2-1 series advantage. Lakers are coming off high point game 3 as far as the team and the fans are concerned. I got to be honest, I felt really good after the win. I thought the show was great too. I just felt, unfortunately, because of time constraints, we couldn't really sink our teeth into just a lot of the little things that are going on in the series. You know, the stuff that's in the weeds. Um, it's what I like. So I was kind of invigorated about the game on Saturday. So I stayed up later than I normally do and did some additional research. And it's been very interesting this series. We have to give a lot of credit to Coach Ham. Coach Ham has really adjusted uh, in games 1 and 3. Game 2 was he came back with about 95% of the same game plan offensively and defensively, but it wasn't going to work, especially with Ja's absence. In game 3, he adjusted really well, and I just wanted to go over just a few of the little things that are going on in the series that I think bode well, especially right now. What we're seeing, especially in game 1 and 3, is Ham, and specifically, I think it's a combination of AD and LeBron's defense in the front court, along with Vando, is they're creating situations where they're basically making the Memphis guards make quick, rapid decisions, not quick pace decisions, quick, rapid decisions. Because Memphis was a team that ordinarily didn't get a lot of their meat off the bone from the elbow. They only averaged 7 points from the elbow during the whole season. But the fact of the matter is that in this series, through 3 games, Memphis has had to double their output in the elbow. They're averaging 15 points a game from the elbow. They only average 7 during the year. Now, I know people might think, well, Sean, 8 points is not that big of a deal. Well, actually, it is. It's a huge deal, especially in a playoff series, that you're basically taking Memphis and siphoning or funneling them away from what they want to do. And that's what Ham has done. Game 1 and 3, if you look at their 3-point shooting, it was terrible. Above the break on the left side of the floor, Memphis is shooting 1 of 19 from 3. They cannot buy a bucket outside from above the break from the left wing. They cannot buy a shot from there. Everything they're making is in the middle or on the right side. And Ja going crazy doesn't fill me with any kind of dread. What's up, Blue? Salute. Thank you, man. How do we take Triple J out of the game? Yeah, that's a great question, Blue. You know what, man? You know what I love last game is the fact that Triple J had 4 field goals and 4 personal fouls. So he had a 1-to-1 field goal made to personal foul. That's really good too. He was off the floor a lot. That they took him out during critical moments where Memphis was down 10 or 12. And if Triple J had been inserted back in there, they might have been able to cut it down to single digits. But he was kept in check, man. And I really think they should go back to the well as far as attacking him. Just attack the rim at will. Attack, attack, attack. A couple of notes here. So the Lakers were one of the worst teams in terms of second chance points. This playoffs, they're actually they're second to only Philly. They average almost 18.5 points a game off second chances. Now, Philly is a considerably larger team than the Lakers. They have bigger size, bigger length. But the Lakers are managing without Adams and Clark in the front court to dominate the Grizzlies. What's up, Through the Wire? Thanks for joining us, man. Do you think Dylan Brooks should have gotten more suspension? You know what? I got to be honest. I don't think so. I think if Dylan Brooks had kind of stood over LeBron and fronted him or stepped over him, that would have warranted a suspension. Definitely. The act, the conduct, and his past, that would have definitely warranted a suspension. But the act itself, no, not suspension worthy. I will say this. I said it on the after show. I'll say it again. I've been very critical of the refs and still am, but I really applaud them for making that call. Like, there was no calming Dylan Brooks down at that point, and if you can't calm a person down, there's no point in trying to carry on a productive conversation or carry on a business as usual, because he's not in a mindset to do that. So they just threw him out. I think that was the right call. Look, we know now that Memphis plays better with him off the court. That's obvious. That's obvious. But they need his defense, especially absence Brandon Clark. So they're facing a double-edged sword here, because Dylan Brooks doesn't provide them with any kind of athleticism. He's not a great shooter, and outside of his weak sauce trash talk, he doesn't provide much in the way of intangibles either. And now him turning it around and saying, well, the media made me out to be a villain. No, dude. You tried to pull this whole wrestling heel yourself, and you're not good at it. So just cut it. Just play your game and try something new, because this slant ain't working. It ain't working. Nobody's buying your fake BS Ric Flair heel. You're not Ric Flair, man. Stop fronting. You're not Ric Flair. I think that getting back to Triple J, I think it's of immense importance that Triple J not be able to get going to start of the game, because I know Memphis really wants to run and gun. They want to run and gun this game. They're going to be adamant about it. They haven't been able to run all series long. Three keys to the win, I thought, from last game were keeping them under 20 fast break points. And in every game, Ham has done that. He's siphoning off their fast break opportunities, which is great, because we're killing them at points in the paint. I know people want to say, well, when you look at the series, other than game 3, the points in the paint are pretty even. Yeah, they are. But if you look at the way Memphis eats during the regular season, they're averaging almost less than 10 points a game in the paint. So the Lakers are forcing the Grizzlies, especially their guards, like Ja, Desmond Bane, Tyus Jones. They're forcing them into quick, rapid decisions rather than pace decisions where they can kind of see it and then read. Instead, it's, they can't even read and react in the half court, because Memphis offense in the half court is garbage. Let's just be upfront about that. Their offense in the half court is garbage, and we're taking advantage of it. I think, you know what, Blue? I think eventually, like, it's kind of funny, right? In the Warriors King series, there will be Thompson in one of these games. We haven't seen Clay go off yet, but he's going to go off in one of these games. And Blue's right. The Magic. LeBron needs to go off for like a 40-50 burger tonight. If he does that, you choke them out. As I said, game 4s are pivotal in the NBA. They're huge. They're huge in any series, really, but in the NBA particularly. The winner of game 4 goes on to win the series almost 80% of the time, 79% of the time. And let's go back to the 4 recent examples in the NBA Finals. So 2022, the Warriors beat the Celtics in game 4, won the championship. The Bucks defeated the Suns in Game 4, won the championship. The Lakers defeated the Heat in Game 4 in 2020, won the title. The Raptors beat the Warriors in Game 4, won the title. Game 4 is huge, especially if you're up 2-1. If you are up 2-1 and you create a 3-1 stranglehold, it's a different beast in the NBA. It's a different beast. Yes, no one's ever come back from 3-0, but 13 teams have come back from 3-1. So it's not as if 3-1 is just this planet that you're not going to be able to touch. No, it's been done before, but you plant a seed of doubt, and especially with this young group who has a tendency to like pout, whine. They're the biggest BMWs in the NBA, right? Bitching, moaning, whining. Memphis is number one. So if you can plant that seed in their head, that would be critically important. Critically important, because then Game 5 becomes a smoke show, because we don't know what team is going to show up. Through the Wire says, if Beasley isn't producing off the bench, why not give Lonnie some run? Yeah, I agree. I look, man. I wouldn't play Malik Beasley another minute in this series. Respect to Malik, great shooter at times, but he is not focused defensively. I cringe every time he's out there and he's checking Luke Kennard, because I think, oh my God, you've got him checking a 54% three-point shooter. It's scary, man. I agree. If Beasley's not producing, you got to get that eighth man in there somehow. So it's got it by process of elimination. Either has to be Lonnie or somebody like Wenyen or Mo Bamba. But I doubt Darvin really wants to go back to Wenyen or Mo Bamba again. I think those are just going to be emergency situations, and Tristan Thompson is there for shits and giggles. Let's be honest. He's not, unless the Lakers are up by 40 points or down by 40 at any point during the NBA playoffs. Tristan Thompson will not see a minute of action. Another key was that the others needed to step up. Right, we heard a lot of Memphis just yip about Rui and Austin. Right, especially after Game 2. Now, Austin had a better second half. Rui had a great game overall. Rudy was consistent again from the field. He's really feeling himself from three-point land. I think he's shooting over 85% from three so far through 3 games, which is really good. I might be corrected on that. It might be somewhere close to 75%. But anyway, the shots are going down for Rui. Somebody else needs to step up tonight, though. There's got to be somebody else. I don't care if it's Troy Brown Jr. If Beasley's in there for 10 minutes, can he fire away a couple threes? Lonnie's out. And I'm welcomed by my esteemed colleague from the Lakers Fast Break Network, Joe Soro. Joe, how you doing this afternoon? You're on mute, Joe. Joe's just working out some technical kinks. Go on, Joe.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, welcome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I happened to be in my office at the moment you went on live, and then I was just taking care of a few things, and then figured I'd come on and do a little. How you doing, Devotion? Thanks for being on. So what are we? Are we doing a little pre-snack game, snacky snacks?
Yeah, that's what I was going through. I was just there's a really interesting number going around, Joe. It's in Game 4 in the NBA playoffs. The winner of Game 4 has gone on to win 79% of the series. And I just made a quick example. So if we go back to the last 4 finals, the Warriors beat the Celtics in Game 4, they won the title. The Bucks beat the Suns in Game 4, they won the title. The Lakers beat the Heat in Game 4, they won the title. And the Raptors defeated the Warriors in Game 4 and won the title. Just as a small example there. So if you're up 3-1 on this team, this young team, I think you plant a seed of doubt, Joe. because as we know, everybody knows it's an open secret in the NBA. These guys are the biggest front runners going in the NBA. Oh yeah, when they're up by 25 and 30, they love talking shit. They'll get up in your face, but when they're down 15 or 20 points, Joe, you can smack them around like they're the kid with the glasses in the lunch line, man. They're very soft mentally, especially Brooks and Morant. If you can create a seed of doubt, like I said, I don't know what team would show up in Game 5 necessarily. What are your thoughts?
Well, there's a lot of I should say it's kind of mimicking a little bit of what the Lakers were doing in 2021 before Anthony Davis got hurt. You had a young Phoenix team that was just coming up here with the veteran Chris Paul, who's trying to get his title, but you also have Devin Booker, who's mentally fragile. The moment something happens that's drastic, he tends to fold. DeAndre Ayton had a pretty good has pretty good games against the Lakers, except for when AD is focused and on, right? Memphis has a very similar kind of setup here, except they don't have a Chris Paul to kind of be that veteran presence. Ja Morant's really the only ball dominant player that they have. I mean, I know Tyus Jones is somewhat serviceable, but he's not Chris Paul even this late in his career. So you don't really have anything else besides Ja Morant. You have him breaking the defense down, and then you have everyone else hopefully making shots, and obviously Triple J doing his defensive player of the year antics. I don't know how Game 4 is going to play out, because we've been here so many times with the Lakers. We don't know what team's going to come out, and no one is expecting Rui in Game 1 to do what he did. No one expected the Lakers to come out 35-9 after the first quarter. And from, if you're going to use algebra on this, it looks like the Lakers are going to have another dud here, right, in Game 4. Now, the problem with that is it's at home. This isn't Game 2 on the road where Memphis got inspired by not having Ja and all that. This is a home game. This is your second home game with a full crowd in 10 years. The Lakers have to win this game. I don't care if they're a 7th seed. I don't care who's injured. They have to win this game. They win this game, there is no way, unless there's a catastrophic injury, that the Lakers will lose this series. It just wouldn't make any sense if everyone is healthy. It doesn't. Memphis could end up winning Game 5, but the Lakers I see winning in Game 6 at home at worst. And that's kind of how I see it playing out at the moment. LeBron could have a renaissance and drop 45 and all that. And that's the thing. See, that's the thing, having someone like AD and LeBron. You really don't ever really know when they could probably will the team into a victory, because the supporting cast this time around is very capable. Even though D'Angelo Russell didn't have a good shooting night, he was very, very effective in everything else. And Schroeder had made some timely shots. You have Rui that's just absolutely allowing himself to really be worth something this summer. So good for him on that. And I guess it shouldn't be too much of a surprise, guys. I mean, we're a 7th seed competing with a 2 seed to the point where we're starting to look like the favorites. So that in itself is a pretty amazing feat. The fact that you're a 7th seed, you were sitting at the 13th spot for almost 4 months, and you're now a danger to a 2 seed with talent and youth. Looking at it from outside the Laker goggles, it's not a bad sight, honestly.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I was saying earlier, Joe, that we really have to give Ham and the players credit for the defensive adjustments. I was looking this up, man. Memphis is averaging 15 points a game in this series from the elbow. During the season, they only average 7. So they really miss Steven Adams in those high pick and rolls. Morant misses him a lot, and the Lakers are taking advantage of it because now they're either making them make a decision on we're going to shoot a corner three or we're going to take elbows and try and beat you that way. It's not this Memphis team that ate with points in the paint. It's different this time around. They're not getting the same kinds of points in the paint. They're just different. I think people really need to understand that. And it's a little like I was saying, when you get into the weeds of adjustments, that's a big one, because outside of them being able to run in transition, they're not a very smart team. Let's just be frank about that. They got a lot of athleticism and a lot of pith and vinegar, but there's not a lot of high level IQ guys on that floor anymore. Kyle Anderson is out of the building. Steven Adams isn't on the floor. Neither is Clark. So if you can get them into trying to make quick, fast-paced decisions, they're not a very good team, Joe. And I applaud the team for forcing them to make those kinds of decisions.
Well, I've noticed, because we're watching Laker games mainly, we tend to think that our team is the only one doing certain things. I was watching the Golden State Sacramento game yesterday, and supposedly the champs are supposed to be a well-oiled machine. They're not. Their fundamentals are not good. Their decision making is not good. I mean, really, Steph Curry saved them in Game 4, and as he should. He's the star of the team, but he was making unreal shots, even for Steph Curry, in a lot of ways, at perfect times. And if they didn't do that, they would have lost last night. It was the superstar NBA thing, where that's why it's important to have that guy bailing your butt out. I don't see a lot of good decision making. I just don't, in the NBA in general. I don't think the offenses are set up for fundamental skill sets and chess type thinking. This has become a checkers game in the NBA. It's simply checkers. If you can get that ball to the three and make the shot, that's all anyone really cares about. Why? Because fundamental basketball takes too long, and it's only worth 2 points. So the team can go on the other side of the court, run a couple of 6 or 7 second offense type stuff, give it to the guy in the corner, he shoots a three. All that time that you spent, let's say 22 seconds out of the 24, getting the ball down low, kicking it out, going back down low again, doing a pick and roll, getting the guy that's slashed into the basket, boom, you get a 2-point shot. Then the other team can go over there right after that possession and get a couple passes in and make a three. And all that stuff was within, a 7 or 8 second time setup. Then you go back to try to go run your fundamental offense. You don't make the shot. Then they go back. Then you have 7, 8 or 8 seconds. You hit another three. Now you just went up 6-2 in the last probably 45 to 50 seconds. So for those of you, I haven't gotten into the detail of this too much, because I think a lot of times our audience wants to be entertained. But if we went more technical, I'd like to go technical every now and then, because I think it's important to understand the game too. But that's what's happened to the NBA. The NBA has become simply, there's just more if you do less. That's really what it is. It doesn't feel like fundamental basketball is needed anymore. As long as you can be a sniper out that corner, and do it regularly, you're going to have a chance at winning at a higher clip. So as far as the Lakers are concerned, that's why someone like AD, or in Memphis' situation, why Triple J's ability is crucial to a team, because they're able to somewhat minimize those situations because they're long and they're able to guard an area versus a single player. And if you guys have noticed the last 4 or 5, or I should say 2 to 3 months, have you guys noticed that there's been more 3-second calls on the Lakers? That's not too hard to understand when you know what AD is trying to do. He's getting caught kind of sagging a little bit more than he probably should, and that's why those calls have been more prevalent. So yeah, it's a very matchups in the NBA are going to be very similar to baseball soon. Whereas before, as long as you had the best team, didn't matter who it was. If you had a team that posted up, you had a team that run and gun, didn't matter. As long as you had Shaq and Kobe, no matter what the hell you had, you could have had, Jerry West
you just stuck with your guns.
Yeah, you didn't have to adjust. But with what's going on with the NBA right now, there will be a matchup problem for some teams. And you're seeing that a little bit with Denver, even though Minnesota got out of this particular sweep. They almost got swept, and they were able to extend it a little bit. But, Denver had no reason to almost sweep Minnesota, except when you look at how Minnesota's set up. What's the issue with Rudy Gobert every year? There's only so much.
You pull him out. He's useless.
He's useless. He is not AD. And again, it's a shame that AD has played some almost full seasons here. He should have at least a couple Defensive Player of the Year awards. I don't know why he doesn't. It's mind-boggling why these guys always seem to gravitate towards the same stupid thing: rebounds and blocks for the Defensive Player of the Year. They kind of broke that mold last year when they voted Marcus Smart, which always puzzled me. Like, wouldn't it be harder for a guard to be a great defensive player? Why are you always rewarding the center when they are purposely funneling that player to that guy? Of course, he's going to have an opportunity to have more blocks and more rebounds. So yeah, it's again, it's as far as the Lakers and Memphis are concerned, this is a very good matchup. I don't think any one or the other has an advantage, other than the fact that the Lakers have two stars that are more capable, in my opinion, if it should stay this way it is, of winning this series because of those two.
Absolutely. And in this game in particular, Joe, what adjustments do you think Cam needs to make? What's the big one that you would make right now?
The adjustment I'd make for Game 4 is there's a couple things I want to talk about. I really don't know if there's much to adjust from the first quarter, and even when they just lapses, it's the lapses. It's the
I call it drifting.
It's the lapses, because if you look at that process of that game, you had them basically up 29, and then they were fine until a minute and a half left in the first half. Then Memphis went on a 10-0 run in a minute and a half. My adjustment is you gotta somehow hold on to that ball and play old school basketball when you have a lead like that towards the end of quarters. That is that is probably the biggest adjustment, because I want you to think about this for a second. Even if you don't score, you're going to eliminate 48 seconds of that minute and 30 seconds that's left. Even if you just dribbled and let it go, right? You're not scoring 10 points unless you literally are going boom, shoot. Okay, these guys are hot. You know this was, but it's a lapse. It's a lapse in focus for just a small smidge. So when you get that lead, especially at the end of quarters, it's just like boxing. Okay, you guys ever notice when boxing was good too? When you can actually watch boxing, now it's like once every year. But you ever notice when you hear that click, click, and all of a sudden the guys start looking like they're connecting, and they're trying to end the round well to get that round in their favor? It's the same concept. The team that's trying to catch up to you starts going into this mode of, I'm going to go and I'm going to try to get as much stuff I can get done now, because we're going to not have to worry about being tired in the next 90 seconds. Just like when you're doing cardio, that last minute, you put it on level 10 and you're like, yeah, I'm going to make it all the way through, right? Same concept. So the adjustment I'd like for Darvin to make in any game, in any purpose, is when you start getting in the last 2 minutes of every quarter, have that mindset where you slow things down, especially when you have a 20, 25-point lead. It's stupid to go from 29 to 19 in a minute and 30 seconds. If they make 2 baskets, fine. I'll take a 24 or a 25-point lead with that. That's fine, but not 10. And the reason why that happens It's because you're not really focusing on managing the clock. You're playing your regular offense. Your guys are shooting too early. Why? Why are you doing that? You guys do that stupid thing with the rolling of the ball for 10 minutes. Why can't you just chill a little bit for a minute and a half at the end of every quarter, every half? So that's the number one thing that I took away from watching the game a little bit after we had watched it initially. I watched that second quarter. Sometimes, guys, I have a life, but sometimes I'll sit. There's nothing on TV sometimes, and I'll go back to a game and just look at shit, right? Yeah. So that minute and 30 could have been so avoidable, and it wouldn't have taken any energy. You could have rested LeBron. You could have even rested AD if you wanted. Just be smart, guys. Why are you shooting early? Why don't you relax? And then, don't worry about being in a hurry.
You know what? One of the adjustments I'd like to see him make is to at least have one big on the floor if you're going to stagger AD and LeBron and have them both sit out for at least a couple minutes. Is at least play Gabriel like 2 or 3 minutes if you're going to do that, because I don't think it's really smart right now, Joe, to play Rui or LeBron at the 5 for a lengthy period of time. LeBron can hold his own, but we saw with Triple J what he could do in the post against him. So I would really profess to have a big out there if you're going to go small.
Yeah, it's the Lakers are one really good backup center away from not having to deal with this problem in the future. Just somebody who can body up. Like if we had a JaVale McGee, one of the things I don't think we really appreciated about JaVale McGee, there was two things really. His just amazing ability to understand who he is and his capabilities. And then just that 15 minutes a game of doing exactly what the team needed. The Lakers need that one guy. I think they were hoping Mo Bamba could be that guy, but he doesn't have enough of a motor to spread out. That 12 to 15 minutes of basketball can bury you if you're not focused enough, right? And I know Tom is sad about that, but the reality is Mo Bamba doesn't have the personality, it seems, to be that guy, to be the guy that can go and stretch himself, basically. And that's really the only thing it's the only thing that's possible in terms of being effective in this league. You have to be effective as a big man in this league. We talked about Shaq back in the day. I know Shaq would have dunked on everyone in today's NBA, but for those of you who know how basketball works and remember Shaq and how he played, if you drew Shaq out in today's game, Shaq's going to be in trouble. Shaq did not guard people well back there, and he didn't guard people in pick and rolls very well, even in his prime. So if they're drawing Shaq out, it's not going to be a good thing. And so that's why I always laugh when people say, well, if Shaq was playing today's game or if Michael Jordan was playing today's game, I always laugh at that. I go, well, at what context? Okay. Yeah. Are you talking about Shaq teleporting from the 90s? Are you talking about Jordan teleporting from the 80s? I go, of course they're going to destroy everybody. I go, but it's not possible for guys of that talent to do what they did then because culture changes. Jordan would have been raised as a millennial. Maybe he wouldn't have been a psychopath, a competitive winner. Maybe he wouldn't have been that way. And Michael Jordan wouldn't be who Michael Jordan is. So to have that discussion and to say Shaq would have destroyed everybody, we don't know if Shaq would have. Shaq wanted to be back in the day, wanted to be what these bigs are now. They didn't allow him. They said, no, you're too big and too skilled. You freaking dunk the ball. Now, if Shaq could shoot, and he's definitely had the athleticism to play an AD type role, 100%, but he would have had to have not eaten all those pancakes and 2 gallons of milk a day. So a lot of ifs. That's why it's stupid to talk about it. So as far as the adjustments, again, adjustments is usually all around focus because this team is very talented more than I think we let on. This team is very talented at basketball. Beasley is the only guy that's really struggling that I thought might kind of get a kick out at some point. And I'm not saying he won't, but right now it doesn't look good. I'm hoping he can get in stride. I had picked him during the year that he would win us a game because he'd hit that, He'd have one of those games where he hit 5 or 6 threes. Except Rui was the guy that did it.
Yeah.
I was expecting Beasley to do it. Rui ended up doing it for game 1. So
well,
I'm still
he did have that one game, Joe, in New Orleans. Unfortunately, I think you were hoping for like a playoff game, and so were the rest of us. But I think we've got the one game out of Beasley this year, unfortunately. But you never know. You never know.
Well, the more the playoffs continue, the likelihood of that happening. He's too good of a shooter.
Well, and that's another adjustment I think Ham's going to have to make, Joe, is that the longer this series goes on and the longer the Lakers are in the playoffs, he's going to have to expand to an actual 8-man rotation. Right now, it's like 7.5. He's trying to get the most out of Troy Brown Jr. and Malik Beasley and live with the results. But, Joe, I think he definitely has to stop being Switzerland here, get off the fence, and just decide you're going to play these 8 guys steadily and not flip-flop here.
I think a lot of the reasons why he hasn't is because I don't know, rotations obviously shrink during the playoffs, but I just don't know if this team is that team that you can spread it out. I think there's the talent that they're against is just the certain guys that come off the bench that don't mesh well with certain players on Memphis's team. I think that's what probably plays into that the most. I just don't see. I don't see the rotation. Who's coming in on the rotations an issue at the moment, at least in this series.
Mm-hmm.
My issues have only really been focus issues. These inbound passes that are not getting in comfortably. This is really bad basketball. This is unacceptable. This is like an infielder dropping a ball and a fly ball every freaking other day. It doesn't make any sense.
Or it's like your video game console got stuck in water and everybody's like all jumbled up. Try to get the pass. It's like
not.
that.
It's
awkward, Joe.
Yeah, if you add up the mental lapses in these series, you're looking at going, whoa, why can't this guy come on? You got a whole court. You can, the NBA changed the rules a few years ago where you can let the guy go to the other side of the half court. Take advantage of it. You have Schroeder. The guy is a bullet. Get it over there. Get the guy freaking ball out, okay, without turning it over. And the focus on the game for 48 minutes. We are no longer in a lull league. A dead brain can get you in major trouble. You want to know what? If you don't believe me, I want everyone to go back to the Golden State-Sacramento game last night, okay? Guess what I did the last minute of that game? I said, "Oh,
it's over.
I'm gonna go swimming. It's over." I come back about 10 minutes later, and I remember getting something out of the fridge. I was getting ready to barbecue some dogs on the grill. I go, what the 10 minutes ago? Like, why is Steph Curry doing an interview right now? Like, did I put it on pause? Turns out that he called a timeout, got himself in trouble and his whole team. And out of all the people, Harrison Barnes, dude, you just got voted most clutch, which, by the way, is the dumbest award I've ever heard in my life.
Fox did,
the clutchest player. And you pass it to Harrison Barnes, the guy that cost the guy, and no one. I haven't heard anyone say this except me for some weird reason. The guy that cost you the guy that cost the Golden State Warriors the 2006 championship was Harrison Barnes, not Draymond Green being suspended. Harrison Barnes missed every open shot the last 2 games practically. Mm-hmm. Okay, yep. You give him the ball to win that game. You got to get to the hole, Fox. Come on. You got to set up something there, Mike Brown. You got to set up something there for your most clutch player of the year. Imagine if that award was wrong with Kobe. You'd have 16 of them.
Probably. Fox was really mad after that too, Joe. He slammed the ball on the ground. He was visibly frustrated.
He knew he made a mistake. That's why he knew he should have just. That team would have been better off either him creating separation and shooting the shot or going to the hole. I pressure changes everything, guys. It doesn't matter if you're the clutchest guy. I mean, I remember Kobe for the longest time, he wasn't making any clutch shots. It's difficult sometimes. It's difficult to make those shots, especially since he practically won almost every close game in 1 year. I remember he had 7 game winners. 3 of them were buzzer beaters. 7 game winners in 1 year. I mean, that's just mind-boggling. 7. So, and he made up for it all in that 1 year. And then after a while, they're putting 2-3 guys on you, and it's difficult to make those shots. But I guess that's where coaching also comes in. And again, the play, the thing puckers up a little bit more when the pressure's on. So you have to put that in there too.
100%. That's why tonight's game is extremely pivotal. I actually think Memphis is going to come out with their asses on fire. I think they're going to try and dictate the pace of the game, Joe. They haven't been able to get out in transition. I think they're going to try and be over aggressive, and I hope that the Lakers take advantage of it because they need to do something, Joe. Their bread and butter is transition, and the Lakers haven't allowed them to get out and run. So to me, something tells me they're going to try and turn on the turbochargers and get out of crypto.com early. So if I were the Lakers, I wouldn't change a thing, like Joe was saying, from the first quarter. Just be dominant, attack the rim. Point of attack is Triple J or anybody who wants to meet you vertically. Another thing, I'd like to see, I don't know about you, Joe, but I'd like to see LeBron and Rui run some pick and rolls. I really think they can get guys like Tillman and Triple J and their other guards in foul trouble based on the physicality those two players possess.
Well, the fact that Rui is a good mid-range shooter, I'm surprised they haven't started it already. Pick and roll effectiveness is an interesting talent. Stockton and Malone were the staples of the pick and roll. Probably, I don't even think it's probably the greatest pick and roll offense, greatest pick and roll players ever was John Stockton and Karl Malone.
By far.
And if I have a mid-range shot like Rui does, I would be watching those videos nonstop. I would be watching them until my eyes bled. However, LeBron, as good of a point guard, point forward as he is, I don't think he's wired to be an assist guy in that kind of setup. He'll pass the ball, but I don't know if there's been too many issues with the Lakers in getting the correct pass down, whether it's a bounce pass, whether it's a timely pass. Their timing is just not good in those areas. If I was to coach the Lakers and we end up re-signing D'Angelo Russell, he's the guy. And we end up signing, let's say, Rui. He's the guy. I would just set him and Rui and go, everyone else is going to play 5-on-5. You two, I want you for the next month to practice pick and roll and pick and roll and pick and roll and pick and roll, because there's another guy that can shoot a mid-range is D'Angelo Russell. And why not? Why not? Why not get you at least a guaranteed 2 in certain spots of the game versus pass, isolation, shoot 3 and hope it goes in.
Right, because in this series we've been allowed to eat from the mid-range if we want. Memphis is totally willing to give up the mid-range show, and they are allergic to the mid-range in offense. They will actually turn down mid-range shots. They would rather have a contested shot at the rim than take a mid-range shot. That's what they've shown in this series.
Yeah, it's quite hilarious that you won't take the guaranteed 2 just so you can get the 3, right? My thing is, when I was explaining the setup of the offenses in today's game, that part matters if you're kind of even out. But if you're got a lead, if you're trying to control the game and it's a playoff game, guarantee yourself the 2 then. If you get out to a lead where you're up 20, 25 points, 15 points, try to limit your higher percentage or lower percentage shots. But then again, the defense could sway you that way, a certain way. They could pack the paint. Again, this guy's I this is where coaching is important. I grew up. I was taught in broadcasting school from my very, very good friend John Chalesnik that when you're doing a show, you want to keep things kind of dumbed down a little bit. Not because your audience is dumb, but because if it gets too technical, you start to get boring. That's why too many statistics, all this stuff. It's kind of lazy commentating. This shows that are entertainment shows, for sports or whatever, people want to connect with you. That's why when I was telling you, Sean, the reason why people love you so much is because you got good stories. But then you do also have someone like Stone Hansen who has inside information. That's the other thing people like. They like inside information that they don't have time to go get. Stone watches 18 games a day of things that no one's going to watch. Right. So it's nice to have someone like Stone go, hey, this guy, Jim Smith, we saw him here and he did this and did that. Now, when you're watching, even us, we're like, okay, I'm going to start watching this Jim Smith guy. What's going on with this guy? And then you'll start hearing his name. You already know a little bit about him. And then when you start analyzing, well, what are we going to do in the draft? What's going to happen here? Boom. Now you have that. But ultimately, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to explain the game in a way where it's entertaining as well as it's common sense. Common sense is very important. And common sense is a little easier for guys like us to do it because we don't have a producer at our necks trying to, get advertising money. Now, at some point, we'll probably get to the monetary thing here. I mean, we already sort of have, but point is, we can't let it deteriorate the message of what we're trying to say, which is really common sense and the truth. We want to always tell you the truth. We want to tell you what we're seeing, and we obviously want to have some flair in it so that you guys can be entertained. Otherwise, what's the point?
Of course, that's what we're here for. And we often talk about, why do people keep coming back to us? Well, a friend of mine who's Russian has this saying, Joe. I can't say it, but it's like the translation is, if life is good right now, it's best not to question why. So that's the philosophy I have about our audience, is that they keep coming back because we give them the unfiltered, unvarnished truth, and a lot of them identify with that because they're seeing the same things we are.
Yeah, it's interpreting and seeing are two different things.
Yeah, that's why they say don't judge a book by its cover.
I think if have you heard of a guy named David Goggins?
Yes.
Okay, so David Goggins is a psychopath in a good way. Basically tells everyone to stop whining and just do it. I was gonna send everyone a link to one of his headlines today. Was I don't listen to him regularly. This stuff pulled up on my YouTube, so and the algorithm, every time you click onto a link, it's like they start sending you a bunch of stuff. But it's funny, the tagline was, there's no such thing as hope. That's not the first time I've heard that. One of my mentors from 15 years ago said it similarly. He goes, Joe, there's no hope in this business. Now, the interpretation is, in his business, you're like, well, that's kind of negative to think that way, don't you think? No, Joe, there's no hope in this business. So what he meant by that was, if you think hope is going to save you, you are sadly going to be mistaken. You have to get the thing done. Hope isn't going to save you. It's a different context, different interpretation. And a lot of the reasons why we have problems in this world is people's interpretation of things. It really is. It's a lack of communication. And then even if you communicate it, they refuse to want to hear it because it makes them feel good to believe what they want to believe. And everything is tribal, right? I mean, it's one thing to have your family and your close friends being part of the crew. But when you start to get out to strangers and do that, that's where things that start to go wrong. But hope in this series is that we hope that the Lakers don't have a debilitating injury to any of the main guys. You can hope that. Hope to win? No. You need to execute Stop having your mental lulls. Do the fundamentals. Make sure you inbound the ball and stop shooting at 12 seconds at the end of halves when you don't have to, especially when you're up 20. Why give up 5 points? Why
Yeah,
give up? It's
you
just got to think that.
teams need to really emphasize the fact that you need to treat possessions in the playoffs like you're carrying water through the desert. Every drop you spill is a drop you're not going to get back. So you need to emphasize the fact that possession by possession is key. And before we head out, I just want to leave everybody with this. Look, last game, Memphis's bench played terrible. They played probably the worst game they played in the second half of the year. They're not going to play like that again. So we need our others to step up and match them. Maybe not point for point, but you need to be within 5 or 10 matching their production because they're going to come out with the hammer as well. Triple J, I loved what we did last game. Triple J had 4 field goals. He had 4 fouls. I will take that again. If he gets 1 field goal for every foul he picks up, Bene, wonderful. Take it to the bank. Try and get him in either foul trouble or poor shot selection. And we need to emphasize again, keep them out of transition. Just keep them out of transition because they are going to be I feel it in my bones, Joe. They're going to come out really aggressive, and I hope we take advantage of it because I think it can work against them.
Well, most benches usually struggle on the road. That never seems to change. They're obviously going to come out aggressive because they know if they lose this game, the series is likely over. However, aggressive is not good when you're being guarded correctly.
Look, I just want to be able to sing the Dandy Don Meredith song that he sung at the end of Monday Night Football for that crew on Beale Street.
See, this is why we love Sean. This is why we love Sean. This is why we love Sean. Storytelling. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah. Don Meredith, former great quarterback, unfortunately never won a Super Bowl, wanted to get to one in the worst way, but he might have been I don't know about you, Joe, but I think he might have been the best color guy in football history. Just his demeanor, his candor, his humor. The guy didn't take himself so seriously. I think that really worked with somebody as up his own butt as Howard Cosell was. But yeah, I am looking forward to singing that song. Turn out the lights. The party's over. I can't. Win game 4, Lakers. Just that close to me singing karaoke.
Yeah, Don Meredith was there's a couple of characters he was. That's how fluid he was. You could have called him the Frank Sinatra of sports commentating, or you could have called him the John Wayne of commentating. And he was of that ilk, of that era. If I wanted to be anyone in that era in terms of sports, I mean, how the hell would you not want to be Don Meredith? I mean, Staubach was another guy too, but Don Meredith was Hollywood.
He was.
And he was the 50s guy, right? Like the guy grew up in the 50s, and that was when after World War II, things were, just he was the perfect personality for everything he did.
Yeah, to me, like Dandy Don was cool, whereas like somebody with Namath was more fly, like the minks, the chicks in the bikinis at the pool. Like Dandy Don was a little bit more subdued, Joe, but he was just as cool.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't think going back to what I was saying about being somebody, right? I don't think I would have ever been Don Meredith or Joe Namath because those guys, honestly, were genuinely nice people.
Mm-hmm.
They were just Joe Namath. I don't think people understand what a nice guy he is. I would have been closer to probably personality-wise would have been closer to kind of a Frank Sinatra. But I felt like my execution of things would have been more Dean Martin.
Oh, nice.
It's never one or the other, right? It's always somewhat of a combination. Uh, Shaq and Kobe, when Laker fans, well, who are you more like, Shaq or Kobe? Well, I would like to be dominant like Shaq, but I would have had the work ethic of Kobe. I know it. If I was playing sports, that would have been all encompassing. That's just how it likely would have happened. But I also would have liked to have had fun too. I think Kobe was a little too rigid. I'm not that rigid. I think he took it to another level. And there's a way you can still stay the Mamba and still be. Jordan had that. Jordan was the Shaq Kobe combination, right? It was the freakish athleticism with the work ethic, but the guy still had a couple beers after the game and a cigar. It wasn't too rigid at that point, but it was a good balance, anyways. But again, we still admire Kobe. I love the fact that he's crazy because we're watching him play. That's what we want to see. But yeah, Don Meredith would have loved to have met him. I'm sure he had a lot of great stories. Too bad we weren't old enough to do that.
No, unfortunately. But just an entertaining individual. That was when Monday Night Football was in the golden age. And we're looking forward to a Lakers victory tonight because they win tonight. The numbers bear it out. 79% of teams that win Game 4 in an NBA series go on to win the series. So if they could go up 3-1, we head back to Memphis, grab some barbecue, kick their ass, and come back home. That's solid for me. But with that, we'll leave it where it is. I want to thank my esteemed guest, Joe Soro, for joining us on the Lakers Snackback. And we'll see y'all tonight after the game, hopefully with a Lakers victory. So long.